In 2024, the Federal Trade Commission hit the parent company of Pottery Barn with the largest Made in USA fraud penalty in the agency's history. The penalty was over $3 million. The crime was selling a mattress pad on the Pottery Barn teen website with a label that read the words, "Crafted in America from domestic and imported materials." The product was entirely manufactured in China, but this was not the first time they were caught. It was not even the second time. This company had already been warned, already been fined, and already promised to stop. We are going to expose how a billion-dollar home goods empire turned patriotic pride into a pricing scam, and show you why the words "Made in USA" on the products in your home may not mean what you think they mean. If you have ever walked into a Pottery Barn, a West Elm, or a Williams-Sonoma store, you probably assumed you were shopping at 3 different companies with 3 different philosophies about quality. That is an illusion. Every one of those names belongs to one corporation called Williams-Sonoma Incorporated. They also own Pottery Barn Kids, Pottery Barn Teen, Rejuvenation, Mark & Graham, and a newer label called Green Row. In total, 9 brands operating under one corporate roof. This company posted revenue of $7.7 billion in fiscal 2024. They operate approximately 500 stores and ship to more than 60 countries. About 2/3 of their total revenue comes from online sales, making them one of the biggest e-commerce retailers in the United States. Now here is why that matters. When you see a tag that says "Made in America" or "Crafted in America" on one of their products, you are not looking at a promise from a small workshop in Vermont. You are looking at a marketing decision made by a publicly traded corporation that sources roughly 1/4 of its merchandise from factories in China. And according to the Federal Trade Commission, that marketing claim has been deliberately false across multiple product lines, multiple brands, and multiple years. The deception was so persistent that it triggered the largest financial penalty for false origin labeling in the history of the United States. But that penalty barely registered on their balance sheet. To understand why they keep lying and why dozens of other companies are doing the same thing, you first have to understand what the phrase "Made in USA" actually means under federal law. The Federal Trade Commission enforces a strict legal standard for any company that wants to label a product as made in the United States. It is called the All or Virtually All standard, and it has 3 requirements. First, the final assembly of the product must take place on American soil. Second, all significant processing must happen domestically. And third, all or virtually all of the ingredients and components must be made and sourced in the United States. The only foreign content allowed is so small that it qualifies as negligible. There is no magic percentage that automatically makes a product American. The Commission examines the total cost of domestic manufacturing, how far removed the foreign components are from the finished product, and how important those parts are to what the product actually does. A lamp base imported from overseas or a watch movement shipped in from Switzerland can defeat an entire Made in USA claim, even if the rest of the product was assembled domestically. This standard has been on the books since 1997, but for decades, enforcement was practically voluntary. Companies would get caught, issue a promise, and quietly go back to business as usual. Williams-Sonoma followed this pattern to perfection. The first red flag appeared in 2018 when the nonprofit organization Truth in Advertising received a consumer tip about a Pottery Barn teen mattress pad. The product was advertised online as crafted in America from local and imported materials. A shopper flipped it over and found a small tag that read, "Made in China." Truth in Advertising filed a complaint with the Federal Trade Commission, and the commission opened an investigation. Williams-Sonoma called it an isolated error. The company promised to overhaul its entire country of origin verification process. The commission issued a closing letter in June of 2018 and let them walk away without a single dollar in fines. But it was not an isolated error. Less than 2 years later, the commission was back. This time, they found false origin labels across 4 separate product lines. Gold Touch bakeware, sold through the Williams-Sonoma brand, Rejuvenation lighting and hardware, and upholstered furniture sold through both Pottery Barn Kids and Pottery Barn Teen. All of these products were advertised as made in the United States. All of them were either entirely imported or contained significant foreign materials and components. In March of 2020, Williams-Sonoma signed a consent order and paid a $1 million fine. The company promised once again that it would stop, and the Federal Trade Commission believed them. That turned out to be a very expensive mistake because Williams-Sonoma did not stop. Between April of 2022 and August of 2023, the company was once again listing a Pottery Barn Teen Essential Mattress Pad on its website with the phrase "crafted in America from domestic and imported materials." The only thing that had changed from the 2018 label was a single word. They had quietly swapped local for domestic. The mattress pad itself was still manufactured entirely in China. And this time, the company was not just breaking federal law. They were violating the specific consent order they had signed with the Federal Trade Commission just 2 years earlier. That order explicitly prohibited them from misrepresenting the origin of their products. They signed it. They agreed to it in writing, and then they broke it. Once again, it was not the government that caught them. It was a consumer who noticed and contacted truth in advertising. The organization filed a second complaint in August of 2023, and this time the commission referred the case to the Department of Justice. Federal prosecutors filed a lawsuit in the Northern District of California in April of 2024. On that same day, Williams-Sonoma agreed to pay a civil penalty of $3,175,387. It was the largest fine ever imposed for Made in USA fraud in the history of the Federal Trade Commission, and the company admitted the truth of every allegation in the complaint as part of the settlement. Federal Trade Commission Chair Lena Khan did not hold back. She said that Williams-Sonoma claimed its products were made in the United States even though they were made in China, and that the deception misled consumers and harmed honest American businesses. But here is the detail that reveals the true scale of this problem. That record-breaking $3 million fine amounted to roughly 4 cents for every $100 the company earned that year. For a corporation generating nearly $8 billion in annual revenue, the penalty was not a punishment, it was a cost of doing business. And the economic incentive to lie is enormous. In 2021, researchers at the University of Chicago published a peer-reviewed study in the journal Marketing Science. They conducted a field experiment using over 900 eBay auctions for identical products. Some carried a Made in USA label, and some did not. The results showed that products with the American-made label sold for 28% more than the identical unlabeled products. That is not a trivial difference. It is a massive financial reward for any company willing to print 3 words on a box, regardless of whether those words are true. And Williams-Sonoma is far from the only offender. This is an industry-wide disease. The United States imported approximately $25.5 billion worth of furniture in 2024 alone. Vietnam was the leading source at roughly $9.4 billion, followed by China at approximately $6 billion. Together, those 2 countries supply more than half of all the furniture Americans buy. Yet walk into any home goods store in this country and you will find American flags, phrases like "crafted with pride," and patriotic imagery designed to imply domestic production on items that never touched American soil. The Federal Trade Commission has explicitly warned that even a flag or a map of the United States printed on packaging can constitute an implied Made in USA claim if the product is actually imported. The watch company Shinola built an entire brand identity around the slogan, "Built in Detroit." The Federal Trade Commission investigated in 2016 and discovered that 100% of the materials in certain Shinola watches were imported from Switzerland and Thailand. Kubota, the tractor and equipment company, was fined $2 million in January of 2024 for labeling thousands of imported replacement parts as made in the United States. Kubota was also a repeat offender, having first been sued by the Commission all the way back in 1999. Resident Home, the parent company behind DreamCloud mattresses, paid $753,000 in 2022 for the same type of fraud. But the courtroom is only one front in this war. The real explosion is happening in the class action system. According to Tracking by Truth in Advertising, approximately 80 Made in USA class action lawsuits have been filed across the country. The pace of filings nearly tripled from 7 suits in 2024 to roughly 20 by December of 2025. In June of 2025, the Wall Street Journal reported that much of the surge was being driven by a single California plaintiff's firm energized by the political climate. The defendants in these cases read like a shopping list of American retail. Reynolds Consumer Products has been sued over its aluminum foil. A federal judge ruled in March of 2025 that the plaintiff had plausibly overpaid because of the words "foil made in USA" on the packaging. New Balance, Igloo, General Motors, and even tea and cosmetics companies have all been named in similar lawsuits. The tea company R.C. Bigelow lost a jury verdict of $2.36 million over a made in the United States claim. The federal government is now responding with more force. In July of 2025, the Commission sent warning letters to both Amazon and Walmart over deceptive origin claims made by third-party sellers on their platforms. And in March of 2026, the President signed an executive order directing the Commission to prioritize enforcement of Made in America fraud. New penalties followed almost immediately, but the fundamental economics have not changed. The financial reward for lying still dwarfs the cost of getting caught. So what can you actually do to protect yourself? The first step is to stop trusting labels at face value. The words "made in USA" and "crafted in America" are marketing claims, not legal guarantees of quality or origin. If you are paying a premium for a product because you believe it was made in this country, flip it over. Look for the country of origin tag that customs law requires on most consumer goods sold in the United States. If the tag says China or Vietnam or Bangladesh, the marketing on the front of the box is a LIE, no matter how many American flags are printed on it. Second, look up the company before you buy. The Federal Trade Commission maintains a searchable public database of every company that has been warned, fined, or subjected to a consent order for false origin claims. That database is your single best tool for checking whether a brand has a documented history of deception. And third, seek out the manufacturers who actually build on American soil and can prove it with transparency. Companies like Vermont Wood Studios build furniture niche from sustainably harvested American hardwoods, and they invite customers to tour the workshop. Or Solder Woodworking in Ohio, one of the largest case goods manufacturers still operating on American soil. These companies exist, but they are fighting for survival against the marketing budgets of publicly traded conglomerates that spend millions on patriotic branding and treat the government fines as a line item on the quarterly report. Every dollar you spend at a company that lies about its origin is a dollar taken from a company that tells the truth. The phrase "Made in America" used to be a promise. It meant that someone in this country sourced the materials, operated the machines, and stood behind the finished product with their name and their reputation. Today, for too many corporations, it is nothing more than a pricing tool. It is a way to extract a 28% premium from consumers who believe they are supporting American workers and American factories. The Federal Trade Commission is finally starting to fight back with record fines and new enforcement authority. But the penalties are still pocket change compared to the profits, and the burden of verification still falls entirely on you. Do not let a marketing department charge you a premium for a product that was built on the other side of the world. Read the labels, check the enforcement records, and never assume that a billion-dollar corporation is telling you the truth just because the flag is printed on the packaging. If you found this fascinating, hit subscribe for more stories like this.